Hi, in this episode, where we are talking to Daniel Otykier, who is the author of the wonderful Tabular Editor 3 and Tabular Editor before that for the Power BI. It's a fantastic add-on, which is he will talk more about it, but it's such a great tool, which is a wonderful addition to Power BI. So, Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Just so that the audience know who you are, can you tell everyone who you are, what you do, that kind of thing?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so my name is Daniel, and as I said, I'm the author of Tabular Editor, which started out in 2016 as this open source tool for Power BI and analysis services. And I've been working primarily as a consultant, a Microsoft BI consultant for a Danish consulting company called Capacity. I started there in 2013. Before that, I was working with Microsoft BI in an internal position at another company for a few years. So I've probably been working with Microsoft BI and SQL Server and all that stuff for 10, 12 years or so. And before that, even before that, I did some .NET programming and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's the story of me. Yeah, and last year we released this Tabular Editor 3, which is sort of it's sort of a separate product from the open source version, where we released it as a commercial product instead, because that then allows me to work on it full time, whereas before it was something that was just a hobby project that I worked on in my spare time. But now today it's my full-time job. So I'm really happy about that, because I mean, honestly, I really liked working as a consultant as well, but I just feel that working on Tabular Editor, that's really my calling. That is what I was meant to be doing all along.
Brilliant. Yeah, couldn't agree more. It's a great product. Would you be able to explain for people who are like new to business intelligence, who will be listening to this, what is Tabular Editor, and then how can it make, as a Power BI user especially, how can it make your life easy?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so everyone who's been working with Power BI Desktop at some point or another, they will have tried doing some data modeling within Power BI. And when I'm talking about data modeling, I'm basically talking about the area where you work with the data in the model, you create relationships, you add calculated columns or measures using the DAX language to the model, and that's all good, and it works great in Power BI Desktop. But it's quite clear that Power BI Desktop is kind of tailored towards the more self-service oriented part of the market, whereas BI professionals and consultants such as myself have actually been building these kinds of data models for many years, even before Power BI Desktop came out. We just used a different set of tooling. We used something called Analysis Services Tabular, but the data modeling engine of Analysis Services Tabular is exactly the same as the one that is used within Power BI Desktop. And now these professionals, even before Power BI Desktop came out, were using my tool and other tools as well to improve their productivity and to make certain tasks easier. And back in 2020, so 2 years ago, Microsoft announced this external tools integration for Power BI Desktop, which allowed third-party tools to connect to the data model within your Power BI report, and then actually use and obtain the benefits from using these third-party tools. And it turns out, even when you're working on a data model in Power BI Desktop, if that model is sufficiently large and complex, that you can actually have some great benefits and productivity improvements by using third-party tools such as Tabular Editor. So yeah, that's how it all fits together and connects.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, there are a lot of when you connect to Tabular Editor, like there are wonderful things you can do, like the drag and drop interface, kind of you can group measures, like sort of drag it into folders so much easily.
Main improvement in the commercial version, Tabular Editor 3, is that we now have these IntelliSense-like features, which are these features that help you as you are typing your DAX code. It actually provides you with autocomplete suggestions and call tips and so on, which makes it a lot easier to be productive when typing DAX code, especially if you're new to the language, since it helps you understand, okay, this function takes these parameters in this order and so on. And there are many of these kinds of productivity boosts in version 3. We also have some features like refactoring variable names. So if you want to change the name of a variable in your DAX code, you don't have to do a search and replace and risking breaking or renaming stuff that you are not supposed to. The refactor operation actually knows to rename only instances of that particular variable, so you don't accidentally rename something else. And so there are a lot of little nice productivity enhancing features here and there to help you do that. Also stuff like understanding the dependencies between your DAX measures and calculated columns and so on. And that actually also goes for the open source version. We have this dependency view where you can view sort of a hierarchy or a tree that shows all of the dependencies in both an upstream and downstream direction. Which can help, at least, I mean, if you're working on a new model that you didn't author yourself and you don't know how the measures are related to one another, then that's a very good place to start to get an idea of how things are connected.
Yes, that is. Glad you reminded me of that, because that is a wonderful thing that I always make use of. Because if I inherit a dashboard, and then many times people just make measures and then they just look like it's a valid measure. But when you there's no way to find out, like if I delete a measure, I'm not going to break something. So it's great to have that upward and downward dependency view in Tabular Editor, which I thought was great. I always use that on a regular basis. So I can see how the Tabular Editor evolved from the 2 version to the 3 version. Even when you open the interface, it looks a bit more fresh, and it's got a new feel to it. So it's definitely on the right journey you are into. And then,
I mean, we figured that since we were going to release it as a commercial tool, we might as well go all in and make sure that people would enjoy the tool right from the start. And so many small things like being able to change the theming to use a dark mode, for example, if you're doing a lot of work at night and it's dark outside, it might be less stressful on the eyes to have a dark interface. And little stuff like being able to customize the workspace and the layout to suit your needs. It's in the grand scheme of things, these are just small things, but they all add up, making the entire experience better. Yeah,
definitely. The new version, would you tell the audience, like it's a commercial version, but as an individual or as a student, if someone want to learn it, you have like a 30-day evaluation period,
right?
Isn't it?
Yeah. So if you just go to our website and download the tool, you can try it out for 30 days for free. You just need to provide your email address, and we're not going to spam you or anything like that. It's just to validate that you haven't already tried it for 30 days before that. So nothing like that. Just download it, provide your email address, and then you're good to go.
Yeah. So, and then you have different plans for individual, for teams, and for enterprise.
Right. Yeah. And the plans are actually they are tied towards what kind of investment you have with Microsoft. So let's say you're just a self-service BI analyst, business analyst, doing some work now and then within Power BI Desktop. Well, then we offer the desktop edition, which is the cheapest version of the tool, but which has the limitation that it only allows you to use the tool as an add-on, an external tool for Power BI Desktop. And then we also have the business and the enterprise tiers, which are more geared towards BI professionals who use, for example, Power BI Premium, or who use SQL Server analysis services or Azure analysis services. And the distinction between whether you need the business or the enterprise tier hinges on what kind of commitment or what kind of investment you have on Microsoft. So if you're on Power BI Premium Capacity, which is the more expensive option from Microsoft, which is tailored towards large companies with thousands and thousands of users, then you would also need the enterprise edition of Tabular Editor 3. Whereas for smaller companies who are likely using the basic tier of Azure Analysis Services or maybe Power BI Premium per user, which is the cheaper option, those users could, those developers would just need the business edition of Tabular Editor 3, which is the middle tier.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for explaining all that different tier systems as well. In this today's world, there is like a lot of hype around this data science and AI and machine learning and that sort of thing. So business intelligence, when it comes to business intelligence, it's definitely a evolving field. It's really relevant as ever. But you don't see people talking a lot about business intelligence. It's all about data science. The hype is there. So can you tell the audience, as an aspiring data professional who want to come into this field, the importance of BI in this world?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's actually a really good question. And in fact, the company I work for, Capacity, this Danish consulting company, we actually use this umbrella term that we call business analytics, which we sort of feel encompasses both the business intelligence and the artificial intelligence, or the machine learning, data science type of things. We actually have both types of consultants employed, and we also have a few consultants that have both skills. But in my opinion, I mean, business intelligence and the classic business intelligence topics that you need to work on, like ETL and data warehousing and all that stuff. I mean, that sort of stuff is, in my opinion, still highly relevant in the modern world, because just having a neat and clean data warehouse where you have the reality of all of the data across different transactional systems across the organization, it's just incredibly valuable also for the data scientist in the company to be able to have one place he or she can go and locate all of their data, their single source of truth. I know that may sound like an ideal scenario, but just as traditional BI professionals do not like to spend too much time working on AI and statistics and all of that stuff that is sort of outside of the traditional competencies of business intelligence people, I can assure you that data scientists who are used to work with AI and machine learning models, these guys do not want to spend a lot of time doing ETL and standard data mashup and data wrangling, as they call it. They just see that part as a means to an end. So in the ideal world, it's sort of a merge of both disciplines, because you must have the BI professionals who have the experience of connecting to many different kinds of source systems and modeling the data into a nice star schema, presenting it to the business in various ways. And then you get the AI guys who will just really enjoy having that cleaned data as a place to start their work. So I see sort of you kind of need both these days.
It's like they complement each other. That's what you hear.
Exactly.
They're not two separate entities. They complement each other rather than competing with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because many times we see that the results of ML models such as forecasting and churn analysis and so on, these data needs to feed back into the data warehouse so that they can be readily available and distributed to the various reports and so on. So it's definitely a synergy, and AI and BI people, they just need to work together. I mean, that's when you get the most success in an organization, when you can get these people to talk to each other.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's really good view on like like you said, as a BI professional, the knowledge that you have on ETL, data modeling, data warehousing, that kind of thing, it will really help as if you want to get into the data science or if you want to go into that field, that knowledge really helps you in your next career stage. And at the same time, if you don't have that background, it really help that teamwork between those two teams to bring up with a better product for both of the teams, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Thank you very much for that insight. So can you tell everyone your current role as the CTO?
I'm a CTO of Tabular Editor ApS, which is
Okay,
the company that we started for dealing with the commercial product Tabular Editor. And this role is basically just, I mean, I had to come up with some title, right? But the idea is that I'm in charge of all of the technical and design decisions around the tool,
Okay.
and making sure that that we can answer support requests in a timely manner and prioritize features and the backlog and so on and so forth. So right now, actually, Tabular Editor ApS does not have its own employees. They are all outsourced from Capacity. So there's a team within Capacity who do all of their work for the Tabular Editor company, me included. And then I have my close colleague Søren, who is the CEO who acts as the CEO of Tabular Editor ApS and deals with all of the commercial question, creating quotes and sales and so on. And then we have a couple of people who helps us with the stuff like documentation, support, and so on and so forth. And we're just growing along with as we see more and more revenue from the product, we grow and increase the team over time.
Brilliant. You thought like, okay, I need to build this product which will make working with Power BI much more easier. Not everyone will have that thought process in their mind, but you had that thought process. What motivated you, and what motivated you to work it till it came to fruition? Because some people just start it and things doesn't work out, they quit. So what motivated you, and what motivates you in general in life?
Yeah, so specifically for Tabular Editor, if we're going back to 2016, at the time I was working as a consultant at a client building analysis services tabular models. And back then, before we had Tabular Editor, we were using Visual Studio for tabular model development. And Visual Studio had a couple of issues, especially when the model reached a certain size and complexity. And now this particular model we were working on back then was pretty big. It was, I believe it was around 100 tables and 1,000 or so measures. And now one day I got a request from the customer asking us to change the display folder of some 800 measures or something like that. And it was just, in the customer's mind, it was just a very simple operation. They just wanted one of the root display folder names to change. And then all of the 800 measures or so, they were all within some subfolder structure within this display folder. And in their mind, they just wanted us to rename that slightly. So I believe it was called sales, and maybe they wanted to change it to revenue or something. I don't know, whatever. And the problem of that was that the way tabular models store the information about display folders is that each object has its own display folder string. So this really meant that we had to go through all of these 800 measures and change the display folder string on each of them. And now with a large and complex model in Visual Studio, each such operation, like changing a display folder, takes maybe 20 or 30 seconds to complete because it has to synchronize the workspace database all the time. So I got back to the customer and said, hey, sure, we can do this, but it's going to take maybe 8 or 10 days to complete this. So I figured that there had to be a better way. So I first started, by opening the model metadata in a text editor just to see if maybe I could do some clever search and replace. But that wouldn't work either, because there's always the risk of breaking other things when you just do a search and replace through a text file. And so that's when I started to sit down and say, hey, I'm a programmer. I should be able to solve this problem in one way or another. And that's when I discovered that Microsoft had actually provided an API to work with the model metadata in a programmatic way, which made it much easier to create some tooling around that. And so that's actually when the very first version of Tabular Editor was created. The only feature this version had was that it showed you the hierarchy of objects and the display folder structure, and then it allowed you to drag and drop objects between the display folders. And I think it probably took me a couple of hours to create this tool. And then once I had it, I could solve the customer request in a matter of minutes instead of days. And that's when I thought, hey, why stop there? Why not, expand this tool so it allows you to edit everything in the model. So it was just sort of an epiphany or a thing that just started from sheer frustration out of the standard tooling that sort of inspired me to just, hey, let's just try to make something and see if it works. And then a couple of weeks after that, I just decided to share it on GitHub and make it available for everyone. And immediately the feedback I got was just amazing. And I mean, I got feedback from people all over the world saying, hey, this was just the tool they needed, and it had helped them so much, and so on. And that was just incredibly motivating to keep working on that, even though I had to work in my spare time because I had a full-time job as a consultant, so I couldn't spend time when I was working for customers. And that just continued over time with more feedback, and I saw people picking up this tool very fast, and that was just incredibly motivating. And a lot of people, gave a lot of nice feature requests, like having intelligence when typing DAX and having a diagram view where you could visualize the model. And all of this sort of fed into this idea I had in my head about what the ideal version of Tabular Editor would look like, and which features would be really, really interesting to have. And that's sort of what paved the way for this commercial version of Tabular Editor that we released. So I would say for Tabular Editor, it started just as a hobby project, something I just wanted to do to see if it could help me solve my specific issue that I had. And then I guess I was just lucky that people saw the tool, picked it up, and enjoyed it, and the motivation I get from just getting the feedback and the engagement of the community around it. It's plenty of motivation to just keep going and keep building a nice product. I could probably keep going like this for years because I really enjoy it. So in general, I would say that being able to put something out there, in giving something to the community, getting something in return, that's just, to me, it's just incredibly motivating. And that could be everything from just writing a blog post or creating a podcast like you're doing. It's just the community around BI, and I guess Microsoft BI especially, is just, first of all, it's a very large community at this point. We have the Guy in a Cube live stream every Saturday, and there's just so much stuff going on, and an incredibly engaging community, friendly people, and just being able to put something out there to the community and getting something in return is just, that's something that motivates me very much.
Brilliant. That reminded me of a title of a book called "Obstacle is the Way," which speaks about like how people turns an obstacle into an opportunity. That's exactly what you've done, because you stumbled upon something, and then you just got frustrated, and then you just, instead of saying like, "Oh, I can't do it," you just took your life into a completely different path. If I don't know if that wouldn't have happened, that thought might not have crossed your mind. It might have, but that was like.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, I think some of the best products in this world are not just software products, but everyday products are the products that are created out of frustration over some existing problem. That's always the best place to start. I mean, instead of like inventing a solution when you don't have a problem, that's sort of that doesn't make any sense. So always look at a specific problem in your life and then look for a solution for that problem.
That's really brilliant advice to all the new starters who want to become a data professional. Like, if you stumble upon a problem, don't just run away from it, face it, and then make an opportunity out of it. So it's brilliant. So and like I said, giving back to the community as well. Every time I message you on LinkedIn, you always go back to me saying like, either you're busy, can we do it at a different time? But the thing is that you always responded to my messages, which is a person who is such a busy person who always find time to do that. So that is really important. Like, we give back to the community.
And on that note, and I guess that's just sort of a general advice for people who, like me, are quite visible in the community and who get contacted a lot by people. So I'm always happy to help people if they encounter some kind of problem. But please, when you contact me, and if you have any questions for DAX or for Tabular Editor in general, I always recommend that people post these questions on an open forum, because that way the answer and the reply I get can also get viewed by other people's. So instead of just writing in a private message, hey, this DAX code doesn't work, can you help me solve it? I'm happy to help, but please post a question somewhere where other can benefit from the answer as well. Because otherwise, I mean, in case you need me to do something for you in private, then you hire me as a consultant.
Exactly.
That's something else, right? So
exactly, it's like you only have 24 hours in a day, and then you have your own work to do. You're quite happy to help, but there should be a reasonable request, isn't it? Like there are tons and tons of open source forums online where you can find the answer, but it's not just you. It's a general advice to whoever you message on LinkedIn or any other platform. Be respectful of that person's busy schedule, and be mindful of what other questions you ask. So, so anyone who want to start into this field, like a data professional, there are lots of courses like these days online. If you could come on LinkedIn, there are people, everyone is releasing courses saying this is the best course, you should study this. So people get overwhelmed what to choose, which course to choose, that kind of thing. So what is your advice to people who are using new starter to choose a course or a degree that that suits their learning path or their goal?
So this is always a tough choice, because exactly as you said, there's so much content available. So my advice would be start by looking at any free content that you can find. See if any of the free content that's out there is something that you like. If you like the style of teaching that content offers, then it's very likely that whoever offered it also has some kind of premium or paid content, which would be in the same style. So that's also actually a recommendation to content creators to always make sure that they have some stuff available for free, because that is how people will find you. And then as long as you make sure that your free content is just as high quality as your premium content, then you shouldn't be worried that people will also pay for your premium content. Personally, I really like the offerings by SQL BI because they also do a lot of free stuff. They have a lot of free training videos and articles, and I just find that even all of the free stuff is the same quality as all of the paid stuff. So that's just my general advice. Look for some free content first, and then draw your own conclusions from there as to where you would invest in further training.
Yeah, that's a great advice, because people don't value free stuff that much, isn't it? Because it's free. Many people think that you can't get much value out of it, but nothing is far from the truth, because I've learned a lot from free stuff from YouTube channels, more than what I learned in my degree. So it's really important that you don't look down on the free stuff. Always learn the basics of whatever you want to learn from the free stuff. Then you make a decision to upgrade your knowledge through other resources. Like SQL BI, they are the gurus of DAX, so that is one of the great places to learn that kind of thing. So that is one good example. Thank you for that. And then we are almost reaching at the end of our podcast. So how can people reach you, Daniel? And then you, as a student, if someone reaches you, what sort of things that can they ask you?
Yeah, so I would say in general, if you reach me on Twitter, that's probably where you'll get the fastest response. But again, if you want to ask a specific question, please tag me in public, like just a tweet and tag me in your tweet, so everyone will see your question and I will see it as well, and then I'm more than happy to answer. I guess that's the best place to reach me. Then of course there's the Tabular Editor GitHub site, both for Tabular Editor 2 and 3, where if you have a specific question for the product, I encourage you to post it there, because there's plenty of room for detailed error or question description, and for including screenshots and code and so on. Yeah, I read and reply to almost all of the posts that I see on the GitHub forum. So that's also a very great question to ask, at least for Tabular Editor specific questions. Yeah, so I would say those are the two best options for getting in touch.
Brilliant. So Twitter, and then tag you for any questions, and then yeah, possibly the final question now. If someone is beginning to start their journey into to become a BI professional or a data science professional, what is your one main advice to new aspirants who want to get into this field?
Community. First and foremost, community. Make sure that you sign up for all of the forums that you find interesting. There's a great, for example, on Reddit, there's a great community for Power BI there. There's the official Microsoft forums. There are various GitHub sites for different community and open source projects. So my number one advice would be, if you're really motivated and if you really want to learn this stuff and getting involved with this, then make sure that you sign up for all these places and dive into them, because that's where the real value arises. That's how you can really feel like becoming part of the community by actively signing up for this stuff. Make sure you follow influential people on YouTube, like the guy in a cube I mentioned earlier, but there are also many others in the community who have channels where they talk about BI and Power BI especially. That's my best advice, because then you'll make sure that every time there's something new, some new insight, some new blog post that is interesting, that you'll get notified. And you'll get the information you need. I mean, at a very minimum, make sure that you sign up for the Power BI blog post that details when there's a new release of Power BI Desktop and so on, to get all of the information there. It's much better when this information is pushed to you, rather than you have to proactively or reactively find it on your own at a later point in time.
That's brilliant, great advice there. Different levels to that answer as well. Like, one of the things is community, where it's all about the team player, isn't it? When you get a job after your studies, you don't work in silos. You need to work as a team. So that always helps to have that community mentality in your mind. And the second one is like updates. It's like continuous learning, isn't it? It's not like, oh, you learned this and that's it. You need to always keep on learning. And these signing up to these influencers and then getting those updates really helps.
And user groups, of course. I mean, there are user groups for Power BI and BI in general all over the world, and I'm sure most countries have a user group. So just a quick Google search, see if there's a user group near you. When I started working as a BI consultant, I used the Danish community for BI professionals a lot. And it's just, really great to be able to also physically meet with other people who are in the same profession as you, and to exchange experiences and so on. That's also a really valuable place to start. And if there's no user group in your local community, then make sure that you start one.
Yeah, brilliant, great advice there. Thank you very much, Daniel, for coming on the show. I'm sure the audience listening will be getting a ton of new information and knowledge from what you said. And then all the best with Tabular Editor. Wonderful tool. And then look forward to more and more from you.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.